Welcome back, League mates and listeners. We are co-hosts Dayne and AJ. We are back with another Pigskin Pals podcast. In this episode, we're just going to have balls in our mouth. We're talking ball all pod about the week one recap and all of that. Pause on what I formerly said, but don't forget to sack that like button. Not too hard. Don't injure Love again. And don't injure Dak. We don't want our quarterbacks hurt, but let's get stuck right into it. I can talk about my team first. It was a Friday night game, the Packers versus the Eagles. I was having the time of my life until that last 5 minutes because, one, I was really impressed with our defense. I was underwhelmed how we didn't capitalize on those turnovers in the beginning.
Yes.
Seeing X make a play right away, I was like, yep, that's sweet. Make your money. That's why we signed you. That's so cool. And then we had a fumble. I think it was Wyatt, so one of my favorite players. But yeah, it was unfortunate how our offense was a little stale. Maybe if we played some more preseason time, they would have capitalized on that. And then it also took a little bit to just get our running game started also, where Jacobs looked not very efficient in the beginning, but later on in the game, he was looking a lot better. And yeah, like I was saying in the beginning, the saddest thing was just seeing Jordan Love go down at the end. Seeing all the close-up replays, I totally thought, oh man, this is a torn ACL or something.
100%.
It was like fucking season over. I went out, didn't really remember the end of the night.
Got
and
hammered.
Saturday was just not a good day. And then Sunday, I was like, oh, I'm so exhausted of football already. But I did pretty good in fantasy overall, so
yeah.
That was pretty nice. And yeah, Jay Reed, looking nice. I think Nico looked nice. One of the things that I wanted to call out, I think it was in the solo episode I filmed of my dream draft, I was talking about how ADPs is kind of almost right to just go with the highest drafted player when there is a bigger, a lot of, there's three options or whatever, like the Texans and the Packers is kind of just all jumbled up. But what stats and history has shown is you just take the highest ADV player because most of the time it is right. Yeah. And that was Reed, and it was working out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what to think of that room, honestly, going into the year. I don't think a lot of people did. I didn't expect Reed to come out so hot. I thought it would be more of a spread type of offense, but now that I think about it, I think it could be like this going forward. It could be like, okay, Dobbs has a week, now Reed has a week. So I guess we'll see in the next couple. Well,
I mean, he only did it on 4 catches and a couple of runs. Like Big Watson, I fully believe Watson could have done that also if he was just the designed player. I think it's more about LaFleur's scheme.
Yep, 100%.
And making these guys wide open because he just had so much room to run with that ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see once Love gets back, how if it continues being, for Reed or if it goes other ways as well. More guys get more schemed looks. How do you feel about Malik Willis for these next couple games?
It's gonna be tough. I mean, I'm excited to kind of see it in one way, just see how much our team can actually push through this, because I think that's what you need for a Super Bowl caliber team, is to push through these things. So if we can win a game or two, I would be ecstatic. And I know LaFleur's a great coach. It's just gonna be, will Malik be able to pick up some things or just be able to be competent back there to make it all work? Because if he's able to just hit Reed on a couple of those throws that I don't think the throws were that crazy that Love did, where if Malik can just do that and then have the playmakers make plays, that would be great.
Yeah. No, this feels familiar to me, this situation, because you're talking about if they can win without him, that's what you need. That's a Super Bowl caliber team. And obviously this wasn't a Super Bowl caliber team, but 2 years ago when Dak went out in week 1 and Cooper Rush won those 3 or 4 games in a row without him, right? I was after he was out and he was gonna be out for 4 games, I'm like, oh well, I guess we're fighting for a playoff or a wild card or whatever it was. It's we're gonna lose these 3 or 4 games, but then being able to win those games with him, it shows that your team itself is really good, and it's not all necessarily just on the QB. So it'll be interesting to see how Willis does and how the Packers do in these.
There's more things than just the quarterback position. There's 52 other roster spots. So yeah, you dive into the Cowboys a little bit. I was watching that game too.
First of all, it was very Cowboys start to the season. Dak announcing the extension, I don't know, 2 hours before the first kickoffs of Sunday at noon. I let out a shriek when I got the underdog notification, dude. I was like, yes! Yeah, I was so pumped. The day started off so good. So that was exciting.
I'm glad our quarterbacks, though, Our
Dude,
quarterback's making some money.
make some money. I was pretty pumped going into the game. CD now signed, Dak signed. Everything I'm a little bit more calm about going into the next couple of years. And then they came out pretty hot. Defense looked insane. I think the Browns may be in for a little bit of trouble. I don't know how much of it was the Cowboys defense being really good and how much was the Browns offensive line and Deshaun Watson being kind of bad. So I guess we'll see in these next couple of weeks if the Cowboys defense is really that good or if it was just a matter of matchup. But they basically, until the end of the game, did not let the Browns do anything. So it was really cool and a really nice thing to see as the season starts. And I don't know, offense did what the offense needed to do. They started out pretty good. Zeke had a touchdown, which was fun to see, and then Dak threw a nice ball to Cooks. Second half, though, they basically didn't do anything, but they kind of just were wasting clock because they were up by so much right away. So they just kind of playing possession and not really taking too many shots. So it was a nice first game, easy win. Everyone looked pretty confident. I'm pretty confident moving forward. We'll see what happens. I think Dak and CD probably just need a little bit of time to get connected again. And I hope that Jake Ferguson is not out for a long time. It seems like he will be fairly soon. I saw a comment from him today where it was like, oh, during the game or when it happened, it was like a pain of 10 and now it's like a 0. I could play right now or something like that. So that might just be a tough guy trying to be a tough guy, but we'll see. Hopefully he's back like week 3. I almost don't want him to play this next week just so he gets a little time off, but I was relieved to see it was not a major injury.
So it's the same exact injury that Love had, an MCL sprain.
It seems like not as bad, realistically, like just based off how they've described it and
Is
how
it
Love
like
is
a
like
grade 1?
Yeah,
And then
it's like a
I'm
really
assuming
minor.
Love has
He called it like a bone bruise, Ferguson. Like he might just not know what the heck he's
Okay.
talking about, but that's what he called it in the comment. So I think he's fine. I think it's a lot
Yeah.
better than Love's. So yeah, I feel pretty good about the first
I'm
week.
hoping
at least Cowboys-wise.
I'm hoping that they sit him this week because I'm saying Brandon Cooks to the moon in some of my leagues.
to the moon.
Throw him in my lineup.
I mean, Cooks is always a chance for that 30-yard touchdown. So he's always like a reasonable dart throw.
I have a couple of questions because I was watching the game too. I think what impressed me, I think Cowboys looked good. Browns looked really bad, or at least Watson looked really bad. Brandon Aubrey, I think he's going to be kicker number 1. Dude
He's
is
insane.
a freak.
He's insane. I can't believe they were lining up for a second there at the 71-yard.
Yeah,
I'm like, what's
I
going
wanted
on
that.
here?
I wanted that
didn't.
so
Okay,
bad.
So I didn't because me and Austin made a bet because he's a Justin Tucker fan, obviously. I said that Aubrey will miss less kicks than Tucker will. So I'm like, dude, we can't put a 71-yarder out here right now. I'm gonna lose my bet on week 1, bro. Like, what's going on here?
Well, Tucker missed one too.
Did he? I didn't.
I'm pretty sure he
like
missed
an
one
easy
on
one. Yeah, he
yeah.
missed the easy one. Yeah.
And then what's really interested me this season for the Cowboys is their running back room. I guess watching it pretty in depth, did you have any takeaways from that? I mean, Zeke got
I think Zeke actually
2 more
looked-
carries and 40 yards.
It was basically 50-50 timeshare. It seemed like they almost like just switched off series like that type of timeshare. Zeke looked actually
it was
really
51 to
good.
44%.
Okay. I think Zeke looked pretty good. Like, for how old he is, he looked pretty fresh. And maybe that's because it's the start of the season and he'll decline as the year goes on. But his first play, dude hurdled the guy for no reason. That was pretty sick. But yeah, he looks good. He's what I think we'll really like, something we missed last year, was like a goal line back, someone who can get those easy 1 or 2 yards. Pollard couldn't do that last season. They didn't trust Dowdle quite yet. So
Pollard looked slow on that touchdown that he did score in that game.
He lost a lot of juice. He did. Just
it was funny because the announcer said, that's what Pollard brings, is that juice to score these long distance running plays. And I was like, dude looked gassed after 20 yards. And I don't know how he made it in, but he did.
He did.
What was Zeke's rushing touchdown? Was it a goal line touchdown then?
It was like a 2-3 yard touchdown, which is, there were a couple games where we couldn't get in from there because Pollard just does not have that skill set that Zeke has. Mm-hmm. And also, the thing that I'm most excited for is his pass blocking. He's just an incredible pass blocker. And with our 2 young offensive linemen, I think it'll be nice to have that safety valve there too. There's one clip of Zeke from week 1 just putting up the nastiest block I've ever seen on a blitz. It was like he saved Dak's life, basically. And that's something that we did not have with Pollard. So that'll be nice. And Dowdle, he looked good. I think, he's not like an above average player. He's a normal guy running back. He can get the job done. He's a little bit more explosive than Zeke.
Or average?
No. He's average. He's probably average. But I think he'll do well in this situation because he's not just the guy that's going to get everything. I think if he was the guy that was like Pollard last year, he would probably struggle because you would see that he's not that good. Short stints like every other series. I think he might look pretty good.
And Dalvin Cook just needs time to get acclimated here.
I think he's just a practice squad guy. I think he's just playing the depth piece in case one gets hurt. I hope that's the case at least, because I do not think he's very good anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's what Zeke was drafted for, is that goal line thing, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I was drafting him in underdog to be. It was
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, it's he could easily get 10 touchdowns this year just
Oh
from
yeah,
that and pay off for
100%,
where he was drafted. So
100%.
that was good to see. Any other games that you watched that you're pretty interested in? I mean, we could
Um,
start off with just the Chiefs and Ravens.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we can start with that. I personally think people probably will read too much into the likely Mark Andrews whole debacle there. I think Mark will still be good. I think likely will also be playable. Like Mark won't be what you drafted him for, but he'll still be very playable, and I think likely will also be playable. And then on the other hand, I think Zay Flowers got peppered with targets, but they forget that he can go past the line of scrimmage. So I hope that that changes at some point. But at least he gets targeted a lot, so that's nice.
how can he go past the line of scrimmage? He's only 5'9".
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Yeah, he's too small. Can't go past. Has to stay behind.
This is why I was off Zay Flowers though from last season, where I had him
Yeah.
places. Was I was so annoyed watching these games where it was just fucking screens, and I was like, how am I supposed to win this game when I'm down by 20 and I need, or down by like 30 and I need Lamar and Zay to put up 31 points, and it
I
was
think
so infuriating.
no, I believe that it was infuriating. I think it'll be. I'm happy that he gets peppered as much as he does, and I think as the year goes on, or as he, they figure out how he is as a player, I think it will change. And he got targeted on a couple of deep balls in that game. He got interfered with once. I think Lamar missed him probably at one point. It's not like he doesn't have routes where he goes downfield. It's just it feels like 75% of the time it's either a screen or a quick slant or something. So
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Baltimore in week 2, see how
me too.
the more of the receiving stuff shakes out and bounces back to normal, but then also see Henry in a positive game script too, and how that works. I mean, I think it was like one time it happened where there's like or maybe there's more, but there was like a read option and Lamar pulled it from Henry. I was like, this is so dope. Like imagine playing this in Madden. That would be sweet. On the likely stuff though, I'm into likely. I think it's pretty cool, especially in Dynasty, where he's gonna be signing to a new team in not this year, but after next year, where I would see him making like a splash contract with its own team, and like he is that receiving tight end. Like I think of Zach Ertz and Goddard on the Eagles when I think of them, and that's like two good tight ends on one offense.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking that they're going to be like, and I think likely is easily going to be like a definitely a top 12, maybe even
Yeah.
like top 10 tight end this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think they both will be playable. And you mentioned like likely signing his own deal somewhere else. I could see it if it's after next year. Maybe I don't know that whole Andrews situation, but if they just transition from Andrews to likely, like I could see that's something that the Ravens do. They go like, okay, you stay here, and
I
we
think
transition.
Andrews just got his contract last year, so I'm assuming.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what it was, but that feels like something that could happen if it lines up well.
Kansas City side, Worthy's pretty electric. Rashi Rice is that main target, it seems like too. Like I don't know what Baltimore was doing. Normally they have great defenses, but just lining up a linebacker on Rice over and over again, I was like, this is free money.
No, I agree. And I think obviously Kelsey had a bad game, but it was so weird. It was like every tight end this week just couldn't score points. It was like, so I think don't worry about that either. If anyone's worried about that, I think Kelsey will be perfectly fine.
Me too. So we went over Thursday, we went over Friday.
One game, I guess we kind of touched on it a little bit. One game I want to talk about, or at least one player, Kirk. The people...
Kirk Cousins or Christian Kirk?
Kirk Cousins, yes. Well, I guess both kind of sucked, but he can't move. I don't know why he's playing right now. I feel like they should have started, like gave him a little bit more time, because it's insane when you're watching the game. I don't know if you fully watched the game or not, but they lined up in one formation all game. He never tried to escape or like move at all. It was basically, shotgun, bang, reads, throw. It was like, this guy cannot move. It is very interesting to see. I am not sold on him being healthy yet.
No, I didn't watch it super closely, but I've heard he looks bad. And even though it looks like the weapons were involved more, like Bijan was kind of drafted to be what he was being in fantasy, and Pitts had an okay game, at least with that touchdown. It helped a lot. I'm gonna be a little weary on the Falcons. And I mean, Kirk could get killed by Jalen Carter on Monday night.
I think that until Kirk is fully healthy, he's not going to be able to like spread the ball around as much and make all three of those guys, Bijan, Pitts, and London, all viable, like super like safe and viable assets. Just because It's insane. He literally he line up under the center and take a snap from under the center a single time because I think he couldn't from it's like that's bonkers. That's bonkers. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's still better than last year, which is hilarious. Like all those players are going to be better just because he's all that much better than the quarterbacks they had before. So they'll be fine, but it's not going to be the ceiling that we thought like all those guys had, I think.
but could Penix be better?
I don't know, man. I mean, there's no way they just throw. Well, they should honestly throw Penix
I mean,
in there.
if they don't win a game, let's just theoretically they don't win a game this season. Which week do they put?
Oh God. So if they don't win a game, I think 0-6 or 0-7, they're like, we gotta do something. That's what I think.
I mean, it's very well could happen. Luckily, I think the Panthers are going to save Kirk's career.
That's
Where
true.
He has week 2, they're playing the Eagles this week. Week 3, the Chiefs. Week 4, the Saints. Week 5, the Buccaneers. Week 6, the Panthers. Where if like they lost that game against the Panthers, I see them making the switch.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Yeah, definitely, 100%.
It's also crazy how they have 3 divisional games in a row. Saints, Bucks.
Yeah, it's like the
Panthers.
opposite of the Steelers. The Steelers like have no divisional games until after week 10, and then it's like the Falcons are all divisional games right away.
Yeah, you want to hype up the fantasy player of that game, Chris Boswell.
Dude, Chris Boswell, insane. Shout out my wife. She's the biggest Chris Boswell fan of all time. She has a Chris Boswell jersey. She freaks out every time. Yeah, it's actually real. She freaks out anytime he kicks field goal. It's pretty funny. And she was begging me, or she has in the past at least, to have him on our family, the one we do together, the family fantasy team. And I said no. And here we are after week 1. And he put up like a 70 bomb. So feeling pretty bad about that. But
You know what
yeah,
I just thought of? You know what I just thought of?
What?
While you were talking about that is our weekly fantasy punishment. And we have some people that are going to have to do punishments by Thursday, which
totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
We need to put something. We need to put something.
it looks like in Dynasty,
I'm probably in that
it was Austin,
conversation.
right? Yeah. Austin, well, he's going to have so many shotguns. So if you're the lowest scorer in our league, you have to do a shotgun by the next week's Thursday night game. If you miss it, each game you miss is an additional shotgun. Austin got 63 points in Dynasty, so he owes a shotgun punishment. And then in our redraft league, it was
looking like 85 right now. Yeah, it's looking like Ethan. Yeah, which is not new. He tends to get a lot of shotguns.
And he tends to find a way out of the shotgun, which I think
he does.
We can almost make. I mean, I feel like if you miss your punishments, you're just not allowed to, and you somehow win money, you don't get your money.
I love it.
Something like that.
No, I mean it doesn't really make sense because if people are losing all the time, they're probably not going to win any money. But yeah. I like the thought. I like the thought.
Or ever. I don't know.
They just never get their money.
That's until you make
funny.
up. If you win
like
3 years down the line and we know you missed some shotguns,
I like it.
You get called out. You gotta pay
That's
up.
good. I like it. Yeah, so we definitely should message in the chat so people don't forget. But the last game I wanted to at least mention, or team, more so team than game, is the Rams. There's a couple of interesting things there. One, I think had Puka not got hurt, it really looked like both him and Kupp were going to be perfectly fine. Like on the first 2 drives, they both had 6 catches, like total. I'm not worried once Puka comes back about either of those people. They'll both be very viable plays. Secondly, it's the classic. You worry about a guy who gets drafted and then he doesn't play behind the star running back. Blake Corum played 0 snaps, losing snaps to Ronnie Rivers. So Kyron Williams looking pretty good.
I was just looking at like the main overview of the players. Let me know if you see a trend. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson are the top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, they all run the football.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's valuable in fantasy breaking. Dang.
It's like,
I guess I got to start Malik
Lamar
Willis.
didn't really do all that well passing, and he had 100-something rushing yards. Like, yeah, he's going to have the safest floor of all time. Yeah, nuts. Absolutely nuts. So, yeah, I'm glad I got one of those guys. Pretty good. Even a guy who didn't perform that well, Kyler, who didn't have a big game. If he's any stationary quarterback, he had like a 4-point day, probably an exaggeration, but instead he had like 80 rushing yards or something like that, and he was like a reasonable quarterback. It's just very interesting, or it's like very essential almost at this point in a 4-point passing touchdown league. You need to have someone that rushes.
I guess a couple other games that I actually watched was super impressed with the Godwin. We both were playing some Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, I think it's just going to be you target that Washington defense for a while. That might be the new trend.
Yep.
But just the involvement that Godwin had, I was very happy with. Mike Evans' touchdown was nutso, where he just, I don't even like pulled it from behind that guy's
Yeah,
head or something.
he's insane. He's insane.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Hall of Fame receiver. I
Mm-hmm.
watched Seattle quite a bit, and I was really impressed with Kenneth Walker. They didn't really throw it down the field too much, though, to my memory. Denver looks pretty bad. Bo
Mm-hmm.
Nix really do anything or throw the
Mm-hmm.
ball deep.
No.
And then that Monday night game, I was really tuned into that, watching Rodgers take on the 49ers. Rodgers had, he is the other quarterback that's coming off Achilles. He looks so much fucking better
Better than
than
Kirk for
Kirk Cousins.
sure.
Like, there was one rollout where I was like, yeah, he doesn't look that mobile. But I think it is like his non-plant leg also, which helps a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, Rodgers doesn't even plan when he throws most of the time, so
that's true.
I don't wasn't super worried. And he was like walking after like what, a month of after his surgery or whatever too.
Yeah,
So
it was
he
like
was
super
far
fast.
ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But he just had like a couple vintage Rodgers throws that I
Yeah,
was like,
absolutely.
holy fuck! Like I
Absolutely.
miss that. Even having Love, who's a great quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
like those throws are, you just like, no one else can make almost.
Yeah,
Or they're just
absolutely.
like whizzing by the defender's ears.
Mm-hmm.
They catch up. So that was fun to watch. That Jordan Mason just filled right
Dude,
in.
the Niners, they're so annoyingly good. It's so annoyingly good. Not a team I want to play.
That was what kind of baffled me when they traded for CMC, is that they literally always could find just a running back to fill in
Mm-hmm.
and be really good. Why did they like trade so much capital for McCaffrey?
McCaffrey's
But I
different,
understand it
though.
that he's like game breaking on
Mhm.
top of like your game breaking running scheme is pretty lethal.
Mhm.
And obviously they made it to the Super Bowl last year, so can't hurt them. But like, imagine if they put that asset and money somewhere else.
Somewhere else,
Like
yeah.
how good they could be theoretically.
One last thing before we wrap up here, I just want to mention J.K. Dobbins, my goat. My goat is back. He needs to be conditioned a little bit better, but he's looking like he can be played every week at a reasonable, like flex. He can be a nice flex play every week. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I love to see J.K. Dobbins doing well. He's been hurt too much.
I was happy with seeing, performances of him and Lad on my dynasty team.
Mm.
That was pretty cool to see. What about Bryce Young? What do you think about that guy?
I'll give him a couple more weeks, but I think he stinks. What an all-time
Oh.
robbery from the Bears.
Yeah, I don't know how they pulled that off. That's
Insane.
freaking nuts. Yeah, that was a pretty fun just recap, spitballing
Yeah.
what we saw.
We thought of
I
week
thought.
1. Thanks for watching. Sack that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell, baby. Turn them noties on. And we'll see you next time. Peace.